Right now on Full Custom Garage, Master Metalman Ian Roussel takes on a 1944 Firetruck.
These are the basic building blocks for my inspired project. Holy moly, this thing is crazy. It looks like a Model T. I think if I made it smaller that way, and lower that way, that could be a hot rod.
I've never seen one done on this great a scale with such big parts.
My friend Tom and I are gonna put this together for his charity car show.
But when the guys get into it, things don't go as planned.
Tom's yelling, fire, fire. I'm like, what are we gonna do about that?
Should we call the fire department?
With the car show quickly approaching, Ian has to get down and make it happen.
Like a 3 a.m. roll call. I woke up, realized the course of action, followed through.
Yeah, man, now it's looking like a hot rod.
My friend Tom's in the shop. We're doing a project, and he's talking about this car show he's got coming up.
Every year I throw an annual car show, and it's a fundraiser to help raise funds to send kids to summer camp. I think if Ian shows up, it's gonna kick the attendance up a notch. It's 1 month away, and I think you should show up.
I say we just build something. Like, just build something new and bring it to your show to reveal it. I think that would be a hit.
So I was thinking, man, it'd be really cool if Ian showed up to my car show, but now he's talking about building something. You're telling me that you're gonna build, that we're gonna build.
Yeah, you're gotta be here. Tom's kind of blown away. So he's a little concerned, but I think we could do this. I got this potential up at my friend Bill's house, and if I can get that off his hill, I'll bring it down here and you'll see. He'll be totally into it.
I'm on board, let's do it.
Cool, you just gotta
fun.
be here. That's
I'll be
all
here.
it takes.
I guess I'm gonna be here for the next month building something with Ian. Hopefully we get it done.
We're up at Bill's, and the treasure hunt is on.
Now this is the chassis that the roll-off truck you did came off of.
This is a 1948 International Harvester. It's a KB8. It's a big rig. We used the body on Bill's other project truck. So he had all the components from the early truck left over. This thing is old school, man. It almost looks like an old hot rod frame you would start with, just gigantic. The axle's super cool. If you didn't know better, you'd think it was like a giant Model T or something, just the way everything looks. There's a reason Bill didn't use this. It's pretty rough. The engine is toast, transmission is who knows what. It's completely gunked up with dirt. I don't need any of that. All I need is the frame and the axles. It's a perfect starting point.
Yeah, this chassis is rough, but I didn't want to throw it away, and Ian doesn't like throwing away either.
I think I could build another vehicle out of this. Do you have a cab? Obviously, we used the cab on your other truck.
I do. I have 2 international bodies. I like international trucks, I always have, and every time one comes available, I got it.
So this is like a 48. It's the same as yours, right?
This is a 48. This would have been called a KB5.
Yeah, it's smaller.
Right.
And this is like a 54?
I think 53 or 4, something around that era.
And this bed was on the back of this red International
No, different vehicle altogether. This was off of a 1944 Seagraves fire truck, roadster type fire truck.
Crazy. Oh yeah, it's got these handles where they would hold on.
Yeah, the fireman would hang on. I doubt whether they're OSHA approved today.
Yeah, this is neat. Oh yeah, engine 4. Says it right on it.
Well, you know, I have the cab for this still. I don't have any frame.
You have the sheet metal.
I have the sheet metal roadster cab.
Well, never mind these little dinky pickup trucks. Where's the fire engine, man?
I'll show you the fire engine.
In Bill's endless pile of parts, he's got a fire truck. Holy moly.
Yeah, this is what's left of my fire truck.
Where do you get something like this?
Well, I bought this years ago at an auction, and it was a complete truck at that time. You know, I love the old fire truck because it's a roadster, and it's one of those keeps getting moved back project. I'm never gonna get around to it.
This is freaking awesome. This thing is crazy. It looks like a Model T with this cowl. And then an awesome, like for the Model Ts, for the racing cars, they would make a V-butted windshield, and this has already got it. I really need to check this thing out. Pulled it out of the weeds, and it's in very good shape. I know the chassis got the look. And then seeing this body and the bedsides, I'm thinking giant hot rod truck. So I think that this cab is the game changer. Never mind those pickup trucks. Bill and I have got a really good working relationship. We exchange parts for work a lot of times. Judging by the amount of stuff that he just gave me, I might be in line with him for some really wild stuff.
I'm always excited to watch Ian and see his gears turning in his head and what he does.
These are the basic building blocks for my inspired project. I got this thing all cleaned up. It's ready to start work. Like any good project, the first thing you do is cut it up. This is a big old truck. I want to make it look more like a hot rod. All the dimensions have to be snugged up, made a little more low, and streamlined. I think the coolest way to go about this is to use all the existing suspension components and reconfigure them. Achieve the look I'm going for with the stock stuff. Tom's coming in to help me work on this. He doesn't know anything about my little hot rod project, except that I'm building something cool. I hope it doesn't freak him out, because we got a lot of work to do.
Man, this thing's massive.
This is the grand master plan.
Yeah, but where's the rest of the truck?
This is it, man. It's a truck, right?
Where's the rest of it, though?
It's outside, man. We got pieces.
I walk into the shop, and there's no truck. There's just a frame. The car show's like 3 weeks away. It's like, what's going on here, Ian? Where's the truck? Jeez, it's massive.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put this together in 3 weeks with your help.
In 3 weeks, we're gonna get,
Yeah, all we have to do is build a whole truck.
that's all we gotta do.
I've done it before, man. We could make this happen. I'm not showing Tom the body of the truck yet. I think we should just focus on the suspension. I don't want him to get distracted. The suspension configuration is really the key to the whole look of this thing.
I'm excited. I'm big time excited for this big project. I have faith in Ian, so I'm just gonna follow along. I'm gonna see what happens.
The whole concept with the front end suspension on this project is it's a quarter elliptic, suicide style front end. The easiest way to describe it is I took the stock leaf springs, I cut them in half and turned them upside down. Made a whole bunch of brackets. It's all concept. I just want to put everything in place and see how it's going to fit up. Before, with the leaf spring and the chassis up here, if something broke, it just fell down on the axle. Now, if it breaks, it's going right to the ground.
The whole truck goes down.
They call it the suicide front end for a reason. You're really hanging the whole truck off of these fabricated parts on the axle. So now you can see how these little holders are gonna lock right on there.
People use suicide front ends all the time, but I've never seen one done on this great a scale with such big parts.
Unfortunately, there's really no way to test out a portion of this. I'm really committed to building the whole thing, getting it in place, and then seeing if it works. The way these radius rods comes off of the spindle, you see it in a lot of hot rods, you have to heat it up and bend it. The issue is this is a truck. It's gonna take a ton of heat. If you don't have enough heat, you could always give more leverage. That's kind of the thing. We got one 10-foot bar on one side. I got a crowbar on the other side. The torch is maxed out. We're just trying to get enough heat into this part to bend it. What I'm finding is I'm gonna need a bigger torch or a little more time. If you get the rosebud torch on the acetylene tank, you get a lot of heat. I don't have one. I'm trying to work it out.
Here we go.
Eventually it bends. Metal turns plastic with enough heat. That was the whole issue. Just get enough heat in it, and we got it to move. Let's let that cool for about 3 hours. We needed to do that so that these rods won't foul on the steering. So this radius rod's gonna come in and grab that plate, and now the steering is completely above that. So I'm trying to explain to Tom what I'm cooking here. I got your typical radius rod scenario, but just giant size. I just set up the ends. This is a piece of a landing gear.
Ian pulls out this part. It's really cool. It's got this military green on it. He says it's from some landing gear. So is it cool to put airplane stuff on hot rods?
Yeah. You know that surplus place I love so much. They got all this good stuff. The lower arm on this radius rod needed a bend in it, about 90 degrees-ish. I wanted Tom to get on the machine and get a little workout, you know? Everybody thinks the fabrication is all glamorous, but it's also a heck of an exercise session. The last two pulls are really tough.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
The way this machine works is it increases leverage as you go around the dial. So Tom starts off, he's like, oh, this ain't no thing. I was like, keep on pulling, brother. You'll see what it's made of.
Oh. Wow, dude, how do you do this?
That's what I'm saying. It's freaking tough.
I've seen Ian pull tubes before, but he makes it look easy. It's not. It's not as easy as it looks. I win.
There you go, man. Victory. Once I put the tubes in place, you could see it's got that look, that hot rod look. All of this is conceptual, but you never know till you try it.
If it works, yeah.
What do you mean, if? If it works, he's gonna eat his hat.
This hat? No, this is my favorite hat. I'm kind of skeptical. We're taking giant parts from a giant truck and we're trying to trick them out hot rod style. Anything can happen.
Drop her down.
Moment of truth, huh?
The big question in my head was, how is this gonna operate? Is it gonna swing smoothly through its arc, or is it gonna bind? Huh. Actually works. Oh, it totally works. Look at that. And as soon as I stepped on the chassis, I could tell the motion I wanted to see in the shackles was perfect. You know, you're getting pretty good at this, Tom.
I'm learning from the best. At the end of the day, the work we did not only looks cool, but it's functioning perfectly.
On to the next. You got the front axle and the chassis pretty much nailed. I think this is a great starting point. I want to show Tom the actual truck body. Here's our truck body.
What is that?
Rolling it in, it looks just like what I saw up at Bill's. It's like a big rusty box coming at you. But once I explained, it's a 1944 Seagrave fire truck.
It's a fire truck.
Yeah.
Okay, man, this is cool. Man, it's got some really cool, just stuff on it.
Well, look at the front. It's almost like a Model T. It's like a roadster pickup.
Oh man, no, this is totally a hot rod. So I've never seen anything like this before. This is a 40s war era vehicle right here, and it's in our hands. So what are your plans with this?
Remains to be seen what it will become. That's the whole thing with just working through it. We just gotta figure it out.
Well, let's mock it up.
Up to this point, this whole project's been conceptual. The whole look of this project is how the body sits on the chassis. It's the look of the whole ride. So getting it in place, I could tell right away, and Tom agreed, this thing is way too tall. Look how freaking massive this body is.
Yeah, it looks kind of goofy up tall like that.
It is, it's way too tall. My initial thought was this was gonna be kind of a highboy style, real old school look on top of the frame rails. As soon as it was in place, I could tell it was not gonna be okay. That's why I wanted to put this body on. It's just way too big. When the whole truck is up in the air, the body looks kind of small, but now it looks massive. That close to the ground, it changes everything. The firewall looks like a freaking tombstone. It's gigantic. I think we gotta channel it.
Yeah, there's no question about that. It'll look so much cooler too.
Right, I'm talking about a hot rod, and you know the formula, man. Low, big and little tires, then lean. We gotta strip this thing down. It's looking good, but it ain't there yet. Both Tom and I agree, this big box on the back of the cab is not the look we're going for. First order of business is to chop it off. Channeling means you drop the body down over the frame. It gives the whole vehicle a lower profile. The compromise is the interior room. But I don't care about riding comfort. This is all about the look. We're channeling this sucker. Get it down. I'm just into it, you know. I love this plasma cutter. I'll use it all day long. So I got the shades on, you know, shields are down. I'm in the moment. Tom's yelling.
Woo, we got a fire in the fire truck.
Fire in the truck. I think he's just into the fire truck. I'm like, yeah. It's just these wooden cars, man.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do about that?
Should we call the fire department?
Want to see something cool? First things first is I see this as an opportunity. I mean, if this is a fire truck, I'm gonna do some experimenting.
Should put a little bit of gasoline on there for some dramatics, so it really looks like it's on fire.
No, this is like fire department stuff. You starve it from oxygen. Theory behind it is if the fire has no oxygen, it will extinguish. So I'm thinking lack of oxygen, carbon dioxide doesn't have any oxygen. Let's try some of that. That didn't work. I guess the velocity of it coming out just made a really better fire. Plan B.
So the fire's growing. Ian says, okay, this isn't working. Don't worry about it. I got a fire extinguisher.
I hate this thing. Ready for the mess? Whoa, you're out. That didn't work. We just had a fire the other day, and I used all the fire extinguisher. Let it burn. I'm done. All the while, the truck's still burning. Tom's gonna go old school on it.
So here I am, working on a fire truck, and I think, what would a fireman do? I went and got some water. Everything's solved.
You know, Tom, that's why I keep you around.
Because I'm a hard thinker?
Here I am with all my cockamamie ideas. And you came in with the oldest form of fire prevention I've ever seen.
And now we need them up.
We got the fire out, the body lowered down, just as we expected, and it looks great. Now you're talking hot rod. That's perfect. What do you think about that, Captain? Is that gonna work?
Yeah, man, now it's looking like a hot rod.
The thing with getting the body in place is now we can kind of mock up what the wheelbase is gonna be. So in order to do that, we got the engine in place. It's a 454, it's a big block Chevy out of an old 1-ton dually I had. It's a great running powertrain. After that, we mocked up the bedsides. I knew right off the bat that these bedsides were way too long. I had my own vision of what this was gonna be. I also brought Tom on board because I wanted to see what his vision was gonna be. Groovy. I think we're onto something, man. What do you think?
I don't know, man. It's too long. It's too boxy. Something's just not right. Something's got to be done here.
You're right. That bed's too long. Do you like the slanted back with the cool detail on the handrail?
I like that. You know what? There's got to be a way to keep the coolness of the back and the coolness of the front.
The engine 4, right?
Right. Got to keep that engine 4 and got to keep those handrails.
See that seam right behind the upright? We could cut that handrail right in half. It's already 2 pieces. So we can, look, this comes apart right here. So we could ditch this upright, make a new one, and just cut it somewhere in here and hide it with the tire, hide the seam with the tire. Wait till you see how tall these tires are.
Whoa, man, look at those. That's a tire.
Yeah.
Wow.
These are the biggest tires I could find available for the street. They're off of a cement truck. They're just massive, heavy-duty semi-truck tires. I think we nailed the wheelbase, but I think it's time now for some conceptual sketches. Moving around all these parts is starting to get to me. It's heavy. Tom's a graphic designer, and just like I like to take cars and stack parts, he likes to take pictures of cars and manipulate them on Photoshop. At this point, we're still in the theory and design of the rear bed. Tom's gonna go back, come up with some ideas, and I'm just gonna keep on building. So Tom and I figured out the wheelbase on this. It actually looks pretty short in comparison to the original frame. The thing is making it strong enough to hold this massive rear axle in place. You can see this is no lightweight setup. I got a bunch of motorhome front suspension parts from Bill when I was up there. The front end of this big diesel pusher motorhome had an airbag suspension, and these were the components that held the axle in place. The cool thing is I want to take the front suspension parts and convert them to the rear suspension. In looking at this kit, I can tell it's not going to work for the ride height that I'm choosing. I think that if I flip over some of the components, turn it upside down, and reattach it, and do some other formulating, it just might work. Just like the front suspension, I gotta do a bunch of welding just to see if this thing works. The whole concept with the rear suspension on this truck is slammed, super low. It's gonna have airbag suspension, so the frame needs to be really modified. My plan for this is to build like a miniature tube chassis just on the back. I got 2-inch round tube, 1/8 wall, DOM, super strong stuff. So I'm gonna create a shape that goes up over the axle, back around and reattaches to the chassis. Bottom line with this design is that I'm gonna have to cut the frame right off. This whole chassis design is really high-tech stuff. I'm kind of doing a little behind-the-scenes action before Tom gets back. He doesn't need to know about this. It's all my brain work. When he comes back, it's gonna lift up, be ready to roll.
Hey, hey.
Ah,
Wow, man, look at that cage. Well, I was really surprised when I came in and saw the airbag set up all done. Ian grabbed the air hose and fed some air to those airbags, and up it went, and he released it, and down it went, and it looked good raised up, and it looked even cooler let loose. Yeah, I really like the way it's sitting, nice and low for something this size.
I'm all charged up about my engineering and chassis design, and Tom comes in and he's all charged up about his artistic interpretation.
So check this out.
That's freaking cool, man.
Did a little bit of photo chopping and
Yeah,
my rendering.
I like it. I was thinking like, you know, flat black or something, but you're talking about a fire truck.
Well, yeah, but it is a fire truck. Might as well
get it.
keep that coolness about it.
Sure.
This fire truck's from 1944, and you know, it's taken decades to build that paint job that's right there. And so I didn't want to mess with that. It looks cool the way it is.
Looking at this rendering, I'm like, yes, this is exactly what I want to build. The way he drew it out, it looks perfect. I think the proportions are just right.
So what I did was I brought in the bed sides a little bit.
Right, I like that.
Okay, that way it gives it a little bit of a pickup uphill,
Sure.
but it's not, you know, too flat down the side. It's still kind of hot rod. Kept the rails on there. I thought those are a nice touch, and added a few little extra characteristics to it to make it, you know, believable it's a fire truck.
I get it. Kids dig fire trucks, right? The
Right,
only thing we'd
exactly.
need is those hoses. I don't know where the heck we'd get them. That's a cool accessory.
Hold on a second. I got something for you.
All right.
This past weekend, I was at my friend's house, and he's got a really big yard full of really cool old school stuff. Check out what I got for you.
You are serious about this fire truck thing.
I am.
Wow. Tom is all charged up about this. You know, he took the time to take photos and do all these concepts, and he's got the fire hose to prove it. So like your sketch is showing, I'm just hanging right back here, right?
That's right.
Groovy.
When I saw the fire hoses, it really inspired me.
Let's do that. Let's make a hot rod fire truck. I think that's cool. Kids are gonna dig it.
Right.
It's a charity thing. Just keep a good vibe going. You don't need no flat black rat rod. We'll make a cool fire truck.
I'm glad you're into it. Sometimes it just takes a big hose.
Sometimes that's all you need. This thing is pretty much a roller. The suspension works. I finished all the welding on the front, and this rear is good to go. I got the drive shaft in. You see the brakes are in. It steers. So without the bed sides, it's incomplete. We got to get them done today.
Yeah. All right.
Clock's ticking, man.
Let's get on it.
Today's Tuesday. Your show is Sunday, right?
That's right.
We got this. No problem. When we set up the channeling in the body, we both agreed right away, that's the look. But now we have to set up the bed to complement that. So it's really just a bunch of big, heavy pieces. We need to kind of put them in place, mock it up, and just see what looks right. Since we're not welding the bed sides right to the door jamb, we need to offset it. I'm gonna cut a piece of square tube in half, make a little offset bracket, and weld them on. Yeah, see, I was thinking it would go right inside there. You stand back and look at the height, and I'll put a clamp on it. The whole thing is Tom drew a great illustration. He made a great rendering of what this thing could be, so I'm holding up the metal, asking him what's right. Do you think this height is good, or should it come up a bit?
No, I like the height right there. The back, I think, needs a little bit of a rake, though. Right now, they're nice and flat and level, which gives a kind of a hokey look that I'm not crazy about. This thing needs to be raked.
Hold it. Okay, so that's parallel with the door jamb. That's how it wants to be.
I can already tell that's it.
I'm not 100% sure on the rake of this thing. I want to get the bed sides fully mocked up and then decide if it's right or not. We started by shortening the bed sides 11 inches. Looks like a garbage truck. I think they're too long.
This is a really critical moment because this entire time we've been wanting to balance between fire truck and hot rod, and it can go either way. It's really long and it's looking like a fire truck.
See here, the handrails, once they come out on their little stanchion, they're way out. All right, so that's the height. See what I'm saying? It's almost like the handrail needs to be just inboard of this. I'd like to see the handrail here. This is a big truck, and we're shortening it, I don't know how much, a couple feet. So that's the way it works, you know? It's trial and error. See, man, that's where we're at. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, then it's just past the tire. Initially, you might think the bed looks a bit too short, but this handrail comes out another 7 or 8 inches. Once you put the handrail on, you could tell.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
How we're getting somewhere.
You were dead on about the amount we needed to take out of the back to make it look good.
This is gonna be cool, man.
Yeah.
Real cool.
The back piece of the bed has all the characteristics that tell the story of it being a fire truck. So without it, it's not a fire truck anymore.
This was a big step to get accomplished, but there's still something I'm not sure about. As soon as Tom walked out the door, I start staring at this truck, just giving it the old stink eye. I chose to take a few side shots with the camera, plug it in the computer, and just stare at it. Fell asleep in the chair. 3 hours later, I knew it was wrong. Started to have nightmares, and it was all about this fire truck and people laughing. I had to come out and remedy it. It was not gonna work. It was not gonna be okay. I came back out here, and I've been working ever since. This angle here was coming down into the door. The body came up a little, and the bed came down a little. So you can see now, these lines are almost parallel. You see some cartoon hot rods used in that style bed. It just wasn't working for this fire truck. It's way more conservative because the body is up and the angle of the bed is perfect. It's funny. That's why they make these things, these squares, because you know what? Sometimes square is okay. Did the inevitable before we got even further into it. I cut everything back off and repositioned it. Like a 3 a.m. roll call. I woke up, realized the course of action, and followed through. It's been a long day. It's subtle, but in the end, it makes a big difference. The good news is, with all that past us, I got all this structure in. You can see there's gonna be a deck here. You could sit or stand. This is all 1-inch square tube. It's pretty thick, it's 13 gauge wall. So even my big oaf of a self can move around pretty easily on it without even having any wood. I'm going real simple on the interior here. It's gonna be wooden floors, just like a lot of the old cars. Cut some plywood, screw it down to the frame, and put a surface on it. Tom came in just as I was finishing the bed. I'm excited to see what he thinks.
Yeah, I noticed we got some wood going on here.
Notice anything else different? I need you to stand back and focus. Feel the force. Something changed.
I could tell.
I spent a lot of time on this, so I'm gonna let Tom stew on it for a while. There's something very different here.
Besides the steering wheel being missing.
Yes.
Ian's telling me there's something else that he's done to the truck. I can't really put my finger on it. I could tell there's something different, but whatever it is, I'm just not seeing it. It's not popping out at me. Is it shorter?
I don't know. It's up to you to decide. I decided I had enough fun at Tom's expense, so I'm gonna tell him what went down. Remember how much we dug the bed coming in raked?
Yeah.
I made them straight. I took the rake out of it. Yeah. And I just relaxed the angle, and now you can see the bed is almost parallel with the door top.
It's done so well. You did such a good job that I couldn't even notice. It looks like this is how it's supposed to be, so.
Well, there you go.
Good job.
I've been really moving on the fabrication on this. Tom shows up again, and he's got some treasure.
Aha, check it out.
What you got there?
I got some lights. Headlights, tail lights.
All kinds of shapes.
Yep.
Tom walks in with a bundle of stuff. Right away, I see these old school headlights. They look like some kind of an early 30s vehicle. These are cherry,
Yeah.
super old school.
These are like late 30s Buick or Olds.
Huh, yeah, they got the deluxe chromie on there.
Yeah.
And you got the trim rings.
Yep.
Sweet. Right away looking at these headlights, I think they're perfect. He's got a bunch of other stuff. The taillights, he's got a couple choices. These are freaking military surplus.
Yeah. Isn't that
Crazy.
cool?
They got like blackout lenses on them. Where'd you get these?
Out in the desert. One of them,
I think I need to go out to the desert more. They got all the good stuff.
yeah, let me know.
Crazy. I think these are the taillights. These are totally classy. And obviously that's the headlight set. The Grille I got from Bill, a guy I got the truck from. Tom pretty much got the headlights covered. I'm gonna show him this awesome Grille I got from my friend Bill. The cool factor about this front grille shell is that it was the original grille for the chassis. So it's got that old school big truck look. Putting the headlights next to it right away, I could tell this was the setup. It just needs to be radically sectioned. That's good, man. That's a pretty mean looking nose.
Yeah, it is.
This is gonna have to get sectioned way down. So we'll use this feature and then these two lights plugging in right on the side and we'll do whatever we need to cut off the bottom. But that's pretty freaking deluxe, man. I think these will be perfect. First thing we did was set up the Grille with a level across it just to get a ballpark estimate of how much this thing has to be sectioned.
9.5 inches.
I'm thinking the same way we accomplished the body and the bed, we're gonna do the same with the Grille. We're gonna cut off a little, fit it up as many times as it takes until it looks right. Well, let's shorten up the inside, and then we'll just cut the bottom off of this. I got plenty other stuff to do. I'm handing off the cutting wheel to Tom. Let him get dirty.
Ian puts that job in my hands, and I don't know, I'm partly excited, at the same time, I'm partly scared. Ian has, without a doubt, given me one of the most important pieces to work on. And yeah, if I mess it up, well, he only has one person to blame.
Hey, Tom, don't mess that up, all right?
Yeah, You know, I'm cutting up an old school Grille that's really cool looking, and you know, that's a little bit of a challenge. It's kind of tricky.
So while Tom's handling all the technical stuff, I'm gonna get busy with a bunch of trash. This thing needs a seat. I got a couple old parts and a couple leftover handrails. This is the structure or the tube frame for, it looks like an old school bus seat. I stripped it down and it had this tube frame under it. I need it wider. The old handrail sections from the Firetruck bed sleeve on it perfectly.
One thing that Ian's really good at is taking old stuff and making it usable again. Rather than trashing it, you know, he makes use out of it.
Anybody could go to the metal supply and get these parts. I got it right here. Some old Firetruck and some old school bus seat. It's gonna work. There you have it, one full custom seat frame. Well, I've been working. Tom's making his initial cuts on the front grille. It needs to be shorter, so I'm gonna make some marks for him to follow.
Ian breaks out the soapstone and starts drawing some stuff on it, some lines, cut here, cut there.
So you can cut right like that.
Wait, where do you want me to cut it at? It's kind of confusing me. He's got lines over here, lines over there. They're intersecting. It looks like a map of South Central or something. I'm not sure what's up. This is the I guess, caveman style.
You're gonna come in like this, right? You see a guy here, you turn left. You see a guy there. As you're coming around here,
Right! You cut that side. I'm sure in Ian's mind, he knew exactly what he was doing. That's why he wrote the lines the way he did. He knew he has a vision. A little scared here. I'm trying to keep up, and I'm like, wow, can I do this? It's a tricky thing going on right here. I hope that's what he wanted. I make my first couple cuts. We take it back over to the Firetruck to mock it up and see how it's gonna fit.
so standing back looking at it, I think the height works. But I think that grille still has to come in.
Bring it in behind the axle.
Yeah, then it's gonna look like the suicide axle's proper. Just still, proportion-wise, the engine, you're seeing the radiator, right? The engine's just kind of hanging in space. With the grille ahead of the axle, there was plenty of clearance for the suspension to move. But as soon as we wanted to set it back, the axle, the shackles, everything was gonna smash this thing as soon as it hit a bump. So I think the only way we're gonna make this work is to cut like a V shape in the front. I think my lines will make a little more sense this time. You want to cut it, or you want me to cut it?
I'm letting you cut this. Ian lines it up for some more cuts, and this time I'm like, oh, hang on a sec. It's getting a little bit detailed here. So I hand it back to Ian and say, you cut it. I'm not messing this thing up. It's in your hands again now, pal.
I think all his cutting was starting to get to him. He was a little hesitant to go for the radical sectioning. Now he's even more hesitant to go for the V-cut, so I'm gonna pull a few tricks for him and help him out. Hopefully we got it right this time. We're running out of Grille.
Set it up on the truck, and it looks great.
Right off the bat, it worked. It's gonna need a little more trimming, but this is the look. Yeah, now look at the line from the bed. It's all facing down. Standing back looking at it, the Grille is set back inside the front tires. It looks like a mean machine.
The Grille of a hot rod's a very important piece. You know, if you mess it up, it's obvious. You know, it's right out there in front. We cut a lot off of it, but it's still looking cool.
Tom's got to hit the road. There's a ton of little details to finish up. I got about 2 days to do it. Just gonna make it happen. I made a lot of progress on the truck and got my ace, Jackie Rabbit. She's here doing her clean and paint detail. She's clear coating the body. She's putting on all the fasteners. Everything that looks pretty. While Jackie's handling all this paint and detail, I get to get this exhaust built. Fortunately, my friend Don donated this set of headers. Unfortunately, for me, they're for a small block Chevy, and I got the big. These look like your typical headers from, say, a T-bucket kit car. You know, you see them all over the place in the 60s and 70s, people running these headers that come out, down, and they got exhaust dumps. They are the perfect look, but the one big problem is they don't fit this engine. When you look at the exhaust ports on the head, you can see the outer ones are almost in alignment, but the inner ones you could see are way wider. The first step is to cut off the flanges on the header. I got another set that are bolted to the engine, and I need to make a match. Now I need to take these two center ones and split them wider. I think I'm gonna have to torch these bends to anneal them. If it was a nice chromy finish, we'd ruin that, but these are rusty. I can get away with it. Metal is malleable. You just gotta warm it up. You can move it around like clay. So these tubes, as strong as they are, as soon as you heat them up, you can reform them. But see, look, it moves right over. My whole process with this was to try to gain leverage so that last bend, the hardest one, would have a bunch of stuff to work off of. So this one, you can see already, it's definitely a good 1.5 to 2 inches out of alignment, but it's also gotta come up. So this tube needs to stretch up and forward. I plan on accomplishing that with a big old torch and a big old pry bar. Now you got a 3 against 1 scenario. I heat that last one up, it's gotta give. The thing that was bothering me most about this exhaust mod was that you had new material welded right up to old. Aesthetically, this whole truck has to come together as one. If you put one shining, gleaming chrome thing, it kind of outdoes the rest. Hey, move it. You don't know what this could do to a furry animal. Stand back. So my plan is to just torch the heck out of it. These headers have been on a hot running engine for decades. I'm just gonna simulate that with my big old blowtorch and make it all happy. This thing is pretty much nailed. Car show's tomorrow. I'm gonna take it up there, show off to Tom, the kids, whoever else is there. Let's party. My favorite thing about this is the transformation. You saw what was pulled off the hill. Look what's hanging out in the shop right now. Before I take this thing to Tom's car show, I wanted my friend Bill to come in and see the transformation. Hey there.
Wow, Ian.
Welcome back. I went for it, man.
You did. You know, typical Ian, it's amazing. He shortened it, widened it, lowered it, resprung it, resuspension, and it's really amazing, really amazing. You know, when this was sitting on the hill, I was hoping that it wouldn't just sit there. I was hoping it would get back together.
Yeah, really the only part I didn't get from you was the engine, the headlights, and the seat.
It just looks great. I love the originality of the 1944 Seagraves Firetruck.
The wood deck and the back step solidifies the Firetruck look. All this thing needs is a couple firemen on the back step, Fire hoses are in place, it's ready for action. I got this thing wired up and fired up. It's driving around, I'm ready to take it to the car show.
Today, we're here at the CLA 4th Annual Spring Car Show and Fundraiser. We're raising money to help send kids to summer camp.
It's a total down-home community thing, lots of cool cars, barbecue, bands, you name it. Tom's put this car show on for a few years and it just keeps getting bigger and better, so to be a part of it and bring a fresh build out, it's super cool, helping out a friend. Tom hadn't seen this thing in a few days, so when I pulled up this morning, he was really excited to check it out.
Oh man, I was blown away. It turned out awesome, man. Well, this thing seems to be a crowd pleaser. People are digging this hot rod fire truck. They're loving everything about it.
I came out here specifically to see this car. What I like about it is he's not afraid to go with something big and bodacious. When people actually see it in person and get to see the tactile feel and see it roll down the street, but you can't help but to look at it and go, damn, that's awesome.
I just think the man's an artist. Just the total coolness of the whole deal. I was pretty blown away.
You know, every time I've worked with Ian, I bring something to the table, but I take something home too. I either learn something when it comes to how to build or artistically. It helps me grow as a hot rodder and a car builder myself.
Building a truck of this proportion is pretty massive undertaking, especially in the time frame, but just like working out, you know, we got through this. It's on to the next, bigger and better.
Full Custom Garage!